Right now, I'm editing the video with me and Shane, and I'm realizing that the audio levels on this are not the best. We were recording this at a local coffee shop, so there was music playing on the speakers, there were people talking. So I tried to get our voices as best as I could. Further, his voice is louder than mine because I turned him up a little louder, anticipating that he wouldn't have his microphone as close to his mouth, but he's a professional, obviously. So that was on me. But I still hope you enjoy the conversations. Like I said, everything that we discussed in this video, I say this often on this channel, these are all ongoing conversations. So I would love to hear your thoughts on what we discuss, and I hope this video blesses you. All right, we are recording. I'm here with my friend Shane, and we are at a coffee shop, and there are people around us. And I can't remember the last time I filmed something so publicly.
Yeah.
So if something happens, if people walk by, we'll just
act like it didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Okay. Just let me know if I need to speak up
or
speak louder. Well, Shane, I want to start with some flowers. We've been friends for going on a year now, and which is pretty cool. Like I've been here for almost a year.
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal. One of the first things I recognize about you is that you are unapologetic. Let me get the words. Sometimes I struggle with my words. You are unapologetically yourself. And that's really encouraging for me, especially since we're both nines on the Enneagram. Like I'm trying to lean into myself and be okay with being myself more and more.
Yeah.
And I see you doing that. And I'm sure it's been a journey.
Yeah.
Right, to kind of get comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, I'm still not all there, but yeah.
Right. But I mean, from what I'm seeing, you're at least you're on the ground of it, right? Which is beautiful, and I really admire that, and that's something that I want in my life. Another thing is I succeeded your ministry position, so I basically took the job that you had, and there hasn't been beef or awkwardness.
No.
And I think that says a lot to who you are and your character. You know, because I've been somewhere in a position where like there's been some awkwardness,
right?
You know, about transitioning of roles, but it hasn't been awkward for me and you. You're still coming to the place where we gather, we commune, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I really love that, and I think that speaks to who you are as a person.
Thank you.
Number 3, you and your family have a very reliable palate, and I can't say that about a lot of my white friends. Like you guys will recommend a food place, and we're like, okay, because you guys have been reliable. So we're looking forward to places like the place you recommended in Nashville. Can't wait to check that out. And so
we have to have our seasonings.
Yeah,
we're not salt and pepper people. No, we gotta have the paprika and the garlic, and we gotta have it all. Definitely.
I'm glad, because we do too.
Yeah.
So that's good.
No, I know. It just kills me that in the South people can't. I mean, there's just so much good food here, and so many good. I can't. I'll go on forever about this, but yeah, I get it.
It's important to have that palate open, right? Or just be flexible, and you guys are flexible.
Well, thank you.
We are too. So I think it's a great relationship.
Good.
Number 4, another first thing I recognize about you is you're inclusive. You're very inclusive. So I'm really admirable, or I admire that your inclusion, and I want to be more and more inclusive as I grow. But I appreciate that about you. Like you're gonna welcome anyone.
Yeah.
And you're going to celebrate that person too. And I feel that as we talk and as you listen to me, which goes to my next point, you are a great listener. Like as I talk to you, I feel affirmed and I feel heard. And that's been really important for me in my relationships, for me to feel that way, but also the person I'm talking to to feel that way too. So I hope you feel that way with me.
I do, definitely.
If not, then I hope that we can grow that together as our friendship progresses.
Well, there is something I wanted to talk to you about.
Right? We can have it on the record. Another thing I'll note is that you are an excellent speaker. I hate that it took me like 9 months knowing you to hear you talk in front of people, but you have a way of speaking that is, your content is great, but also the way that you present the content is creative and like real and authentic. And I really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to hearing you speak again.
Thanks.
So I still remember the chocolate and the wine.
Chocolate and the wine.
In your last talk.
Wine floats, people, they exist.
Yep. Right. And the last thing I'll say, and then we can get into just a discussion about whatever, is that you are a great parent.
Well, thank you.
And I say that because I work with your daughter, and she speaks highly of you and your wife. And I've been in ministry for 6 years. I've worked with teenagers that don't speak highly of their parents, that are kind of cringy, and but you guys have a good relationship, and I'm really proud of that, and I'm grateful that you are so invested in your kids.
Yeah. Well, Hope and I are very blessed. We talk a lot actually about how we just wonder how much is nature versus nurture in our kids. We think our kids came out pretty awesome, and we've just had to let them be who they are. That's good.
Wow.
Yeah, they're good kids.
They are. They're cool. So I guess if it's good kids, like just kind of guard railing or that, or protecting that, or just
something
nurturing
like that. Yeah, trying to. Yep.
Wow. So when we have our kids and they pop out, I can just say,
yep.
Maybe they can be like your kids.
I bet they'll be awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah, when that day comes.
Well, so I want to say, we thought a long time about who would take over the ministry position, and I could not be more thrilled about you guys being here. Like, for real. I'm so impressed with how you just slipped in like you'd been here 10 years, and I don't want to call them adjustments. They're not adjustments. You're just sort of going with the flow, and you guys match our energy so well that we couldn't have asked for a better person to come in. So I'm excited to see how you take this group and move forward, and how they move forward with you, and it's all good.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I really appreciate that, and that speaks to the environment of the community, I think, too, for somebody to come in new and just kind of you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing.
But it takes our community's weird.
Yeah.
And it takes a certain personality, and you have that personality, and it's just like, yeah, you're our people. And so that's a good thing.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. Like, I felt this way growing up when I would date girls.
Oh,
you know what I mean? There's nothing better than you feeling away, but the other person feeling away too.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, I see this ultimately in my wife, but like, to have that feeling, right? It's like, oh, there's a mutual like. There's nothing better than that.
It's true.
So
it's
I
true.
appreciate you saying that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of conversations about all types of things. So first of all, can we give a shout out to where we are right now? And you can give more details about this place.
Biddies and Bows. This is a really cool place in Homewood. They employ people with special needs, and they do a fabulous job. This place it's gorgeous. It's comfortable. The coffee's excellent. I haven't eaten a muffin yet, but I'm considering it. So, but yeah, if you're in Homewood, come give this place a shot. It's a really cool place, very laid back, and I think you'll like it. It's a good spot.
And for those not in Alabama, that's Homewood, Alabama.
That's right.
Which is right outside of Birmingham, which is a city that I'm loving.
Yeah, Homewood's pretty cool. Yeah.
Homewood, Birmingham. All of these mini cities. It's like you guys every city has like their own little downtown too.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the history of like the building of these cities. But
well,
you know a little bit about that?
I do know a little bit about that. So basically, a lot of the places that we are in were a direct result of what's called white flight. So in this, Jim Crow South, a lot of these neighborhoods were told to desegregate their schools, and they said no, and then they did it by force. And the folks who were upset about that went and started new towns and said, hey, we just desegregated our school, but there are no black people around where we live. So, it was segregation by default.
Yeah.
So places like, I'm not sure exactly how much Homewood did that. I'm sure there's some, to some degree, that Hoover, just south of here, Vestavia, different places like that, have that's how they got their start.
Man.
So yeah.
So fleeing from the city.
Because
the city became more diverse.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes that scares people.
It does scare people even today. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah.
Yeah, and I've been leaning into those conversations since I came here.
Right.
Not because I didn't have those thoughts before,
Right.
but because I feel like I have a space to talk about this stuff. And
Yeah.
it's also, I've also been affirmed, and people have told me that I'm not crazy for some of these thoughts that I've had. And so that has been good because I feel like I've been rejecting that part of my story in my life, like my blackness.
Right.
And I haven't celebrated my blackness because of the pain I've experienced in this black body, right? And how uncomfortable I've been in some spaces with this black body.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it feels good to be able to talk about like my perspective and to be heard.
Yeah.
And to talk about issues like white flight.
Yeah.
That I can't have conversations like this with a lot of people that I went to school with.
Right.
A lot of my professors.
Well, yeah.
I can't have these conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they get really defensive.
Yeah.
And there's a way to argue out of anything, especially when your job is.
Yeah. Why do you got to make it so political, Wes?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I got a problem with that statement, but that's okay.
Yeah. So it feels good to just be able to address reality.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's these are real things.
Right.
Maybe you're calling it something different.
Right. Well, it's interesting, you know. So I'll just uncork it. Let's just let no holds barred, right? I've not said this in a public space, so we'll take it for what it's worth, and it's going to be controversial. But I'll say this, and I've actually never said this to a person of color.
Oh.
So what I will say is this. I'm a recovering racist. It's so funny to me when you talk about racism, I feel like we move to extremes. And there is this thought that, you know, if you call somebody out for being racist, it's like they think you're saying that they wear white hoods on the weekend and burn crosses and do all these things, throw bricks through people's windows. And, you know, no, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is actually something much more deep and much more insidious.
That's right. And subtle in some ways.
And subtle. And so I say that I'm a recovering racist because I know, because of my upbringing, because of the color of my skin, because of the privileges that I am given by virtue of the fact that I'm a white dude, I have to be very careful, and I have to realize I have blind spots. I have never worn a white hood in my life. I've never been to a KKK rally. I've never, you know, called a black person the N-word. I've never done any of these things. And yet I know I have tendencies, if I'm not careful, that are just as deep and destructive as something more overt would be.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And so
Absolutely.
I have, you know, I've had to be very careful and just be honest and open about, you know, I wasn't raised to be, I won't say that. I've had to grow into understanding what it means to truly be open and affirming. Because I think most people would say that they are, and then by their actions will betray that.
That's right.
So, you know, without giving exact examples, I guess I would just say that I'm aware that I have blind spots. Am I aware what all of them are? No. Do I know what some of them are? Sure, of course. And as they become more involved, because as I become more involved and more aware of who I am and what we're doing, hopefully those become more apparent and I can chisel away at those. Does that make sense?
It sure does.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
And what humility to recognize that this is where I was. This is where I'm coming aware of, and I'm not just that, I'm growing into my understanding of what it means to be inclusive and affirming. Yeah. And you're always growing. Right. Because I would never know what it's like to be in your body.
Right.
And you will never know what it's like to be
not
in your
a
body.
clue.
But as we engage and we talk, we get to see. Yeah. We get to hear and we get to know And this goes beyond, just I think what it means to be Black in
Yeah.
America.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It goes
Yeah.
beyond that. I'm
Oh,
sure you know
for sure.
that. Because I'm dealing with stuff myself, and I'm becoming more inclusive and recognizing that I have limitations as a Black man. There's some things that I'm ashamed of that I've said in the past, about a particular people group,
Yeah.
about a particular orientation,
Right.
right? So I think all Christians need to have this humility,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I struggle with. Like when I talk about the faith that I love, the faith that I proclaim. I struggle with what comes with that,
Yeah.
and who's attached to that sometimes.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Of course.
And that's been my struggle for years as I've been on YouTube. I've been struggling with people. I don't know if I've ever struggled with Christianity itself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Of course it
Like,
does.
I don't know if I've ever struggled with the Bible. I
Right.
don't know if I ever struggled with Jesus. I don't know if I've ever struggled with like basic tenets of the faith,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
But I've struggled with people who have done in the name of Jesus.
I struggle with Christians.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if I call myself a Christian, then I'm saying that I'm connected to them.
Right.
Right. And that's true. That's true whether I like it or not.
Right.
I'm connected to everybody.
Right.
Right. And there's a unity there. But also it's like, I don't want you to make assumptions about me because I say this.
Right.
Because I say I'm connected to this group. The same way you wouldn't want me to say that you're connected to the KKK. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a very extreme example.
No, but it makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
And I don't want you would be sounding so crazy if you said, not all people in the KKK are bad. You know what I mean? You would sound so crazy to me.
Wouldn't you?
So,
there's good people on both sides.
Right.
Wes.
You know what I mean? So, and like I said, I'm not saying Christianity is that, but I'm just saying is there are groups in Christianity that are that extreme, I think.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I don't want to attach myself there.
Yeah.
I want to be united to their humanity, but not their ideas.
Yeah. It's hard. Sometimes I have a difficulty, and I don't know if this will make any sense, but like, there is a point, I think, at which you decide, you look at somebody and how they're acting, and you can actually say that guy's not a Christian. This is a coffee cup. I know that because I know what a coffee cup looks like, right? And I just literally drank coffee from it. I'm not judging the cup because I'm telling you what it is, right? Jesus said, you know a tree by its fruit.
That's right. You sure did.
So if it's like somebody says, I'm not racist, I'm not homophobic, I'm not XYZ, and then betray that by their speech, or what they do, it's okay to look at that and go, no, you are. And I'm not judging you in the sense, I mean, I am making a judgment, of course, but I'm not passing judgment on you. Like, I didn't condemn this cup because I called it a coffee cup. I said what it is.
Yeah.
It's a coffee cup. And that's not offensive.
Yeah.
But it can be very hard when somebody confronts something in you that you really don't want to be true.
That's right.
We become very defensive.
That's right.
And I say that as somebody who's done this. Like, I'm guilty of this.
Yes.
So my hands aren't clean. But it's okay to look at a situation where somebody says they're a Christian and then shows you they're not, to look at it and say, I don't think you are. I think you want to be. I would love to help you be.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Wow.
And some people will disagree with that. Perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just where I am.
Yeah.
So,
man. But I understand, especially when you brought up that example of Jesus where he says, you may know them by their fruits. Right. So I think that's very helpful for me to helpful image for me to think about. And a metric.
Yeah.
He kept going back to that throughout his life and his teachings. You're going to know who these people are by what's coming out of them.
Right.
Right. So, yeah. That's good. Well, speaking of that, you've talked about your journey to becoming more affirming and inclusive. What do you think sparked that?
Well, traveling, honestly. Getting out in places, opening up my eyes to things. And honestly, call it luck or grace, or I don't know. I think a lot of it came through pain. From having to experience situations that I wouldn't wish on any other person, but understanding that actually spurred the need for change that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Realizing that when the Bible says God loves all people, it means what it says. You know, it's pretty simple.
That's right.
Understanding a little bit more about science. Not dismissing that just to save a potential beloved thought or, you know, belief. And then learning how to adjust. You know, even if you can point to scriptures that say, you know, this person that's doing this thing or who acts like this, they're excluded. A good example that I like to go to is when in the Bible, when it talks about in the Old Testament how the Jews were not supposed to associate in certain ways with Gentiles, right? Okay, it's explicitly stated. Now, whether that was God's intent or not is up for debate, I think. But there was no debate about it being said. This is how we practice. We don't go into their homes. We don't use their dishes. We don't eat their food. Until one day God told Peter to do exactly the opposite.
That's right.
Right? So kill and eat changes everything. And even if you can look at a people group or whatever you want to call it, where in the past you might have been like, well, that's condemned or we should not accept that person. There's precedence to say, yeah, we can.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Divine precedence.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's, you know, am I Peter? No. Am I an apostle? No. Thank God. You know, those guys were messed up.
Yeah. You're right.
Bless them. I'm grateful for him.
Yeah.
Peter has his own faults.
That's right.
And I have he's the same as me.
Yeah.
You know,
that's right.
When you have those affirming moments and you realize like, oh, it's okay for us to think those people are good.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that takes pain and that takes time and it takes effort. And it takes a lot of unlearning.
Yeah.
But
man, not just good, but human too, right?
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Human. These people that may not look like me are human.
Right.
And they have thoughts and ideas.
Right.
And they're worthy to be heard.
Right.
I love that statement that Peter says. What is it? I now know that God shows no favoritism. Right. I now know that.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So that, do you know how many times I heard explained away the part where Paul, and I'm blanking on where it is, where he talks about there's no Jew, there's no Greek, there's no male, there's no female. Do you know how many times I heard it explained away with like, but that's not literal. Because there are men and women, right? And they all have their jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think you missed it.
Yep.
If you can't look at that and go, there's no favoritism, there's no divide anymore between the Jew, the Gentile, the male, the female, the black, the white,
that's right,
the gay, the straight,
that's right, come on,
then
the poor, the rich,
holy crap. You know, you have to change some things.
That's right.
And that change is really hard,
man.
So it's worth it because it's so nice to just, you know, prejudice is heavy.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's so nice to not carry that weight anymore.
Man,
it really is. And when you find it in you, you continue to find it in you and you can offload it. Your life just gets so much lighter. It's so nice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to carry
No.
you don't have to carry that rule book or the rubric.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry the rubric.
Right. Did they tick all the boxes?
Exactly.
You know, did they tell me what you think about this? And if you don't, match up, then no, I don't. I'm just so done with that.
You can just be with whoever is with you.
Right.
And
I have no desire to change anybody anymore for anything. That's been my
That's right.
I could never do mission work ever again. Cuz I have no desire to convert another person to anything ever again.
So when you say mission work, you mean maybe the traditional.
No, I would be fired so fast.
Yes. Because stuff like going and building a house or just creating, or maybe just giving basic needs. Just participating in the human work, right?
Exactly.
It's not a problem, right?
No, that
go and change minds.
I'm all about that. But the conversion,
I understand. Me and my wife, we've always struggled with that. I think my wife, she's been Christian most of her life, but kind of taking it more seriously when she became an adult. She's always struggled with like the ideal of going out to a place with this ideology and trying to change the ideology, or not just assume that your ideology is supreme,
right?
And that you have nothing to learn from whoever you're going to go give whatever it is to,
right?
I think that's very arrogant. I think my wife has always recognized that that's arrogant.
Yes, and as somebody who's actually done that, and then to tie it back to the racism thing, that has its roots in colonialism.
That's right. Come on.
It's like
we're
bring
unraveling stuff right now in this conversation. Man.
It's the same thing. Let's take our way of life and transplant it here.
That's right.
And not to say that I hate qualifying things, but I feel like I probably ought to, but just, not all missionaries do this. In fact, a lot of people will go on a mission field. It's super interesting to me how many people will go to a mission field and come back completely different people, because you've realized that either one, what you thought really wasn't right.
Yeah.
Or you realize that there are other parts of the world who have ways of doing things that actually make a lot of sense.
That's right.
And it's okay to adjust. So you can be a Christian differently in Eastern Europe. And then you come back here and you're like, wait, this doesn't work anymore.
That's right. That's right.
This doesn't work anymore. So,
I'm taking this class for my grad school. It's like a missional class. And there's a change that's happened. Oh, it's been happening. And this is a whole nother debate, like whether or not the American country was a Christian nation to begin with. Like, there's a debate there. There's a debate. I'll be fair. There's a debate. Okay.
Yeah.
But now there are people coming to America to be missionaries in America.
Isn't that amazing? That's spectacular.
Right. Which I think is wonderful. I think it should be humbling.
Yeah.
To recognize that maybe we're missing some things.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't see things as maybe we should, or we're not as open to what the gospel could be.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful that people are coming in.
Isn't that amazing? It makes me wonder, would we listen to them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, think about Paul going into the synagogues with this new message, and they go, no.
Yeah.
And he goes, fine, I'm headed to the Gentiles then. At least they'll listen to me. Thinking a lot of the shift that's going to happen, and this is just my thought, in Christianity in America is going to happen outside of church.
Yeah.
And thank God. I think that needs to happen.
Yeah. And why do you say that?
Gosh. All right, I'm going to start this by saying I am utterly thankful for the Christianity that I grew up in. And I say that to say those people introduced me to Jesus.
Right.
They showed me the Bible. Now I have baggage with some of that. But my experience has been, aside from that, that there are so many beliefs and thoughts that are so widely held, so tightly held, that the change that's coming would have to happen outside of those buildings, because whoever's holding the structure together on the inside doesn't want it to change.
That's right.
And it'll be a slow burn.
Yeah.
But as generations progress, I think people will start to realize that there have been shifts going on for years, and at some point that's going to die. And I think that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, like the change is going to have to come from outside of the church.
Yes.
So the people, leaders, maybe even members want to hold on to something
Right.
that needs to be let go. Some
Right.
things that need to be let go.
Right.
For the sake of, first of all, the flourishing of humanity.
Yeah.
Let's just start with that.
Yeah.
And second, I think a true representation of the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. I think. So yeah, you're right. Which is crazy.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's people will fight against it, and I understand the fight.
Yeah.
I understand the reluctance.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't, what is it that you can't put new wine into old wineskins?
Come on.
Somebody said that once, right? You can't, I love the idea of when Jesus talks about, so I'm the door. By me, if any man enters in, he will be saved, and he'll go in and go out and find pasture, right? I love that. And here's why I love that. He didn't just say those who come in will find pasture. He said, no, those who go in and go out. There's an openness, right? We've spent too much time trying to bring people in and keep them there. And Jesus is like, no, there's like actually really good grass out there too. Maybe it's better. We bring you in to show you the grass so that you go out and enjoy it.
That's right.
You know?
Wow.
The idea that in Revelation, when it talks about the new heaven, there's no gates. You go back and read it at the end of Revelation, it's describing what heaven looks like, and there's no gates. Why? Who wants to go in and go out of that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there must be something different. There must be some other thing going on there.
Wow.
And that's a whole other conversation. But the point I'm trying to make is, you can't stuff something new into something old and it flourish. It doesn't work. It'll blow up, and it's supposed to. And we probably should celebrate some of those explosions.
That's right.
And I hope to egg some of them on.
Yeah.
I think it's hard, but it ultimately is worthwhile.
Yeah.
It will make it better. So that's a lot of rambling to say all that, but
I see what you're saying. Change is going to happen. Just naturally. I think it happens.
Right.
Change happens whether we like it or not. I'm aging whether I like it or not.
Right.
But there is a way of resisting that. And I think I become the most terrible version of myself when I'm resisting the natural flow of life.
Right.
Which is transformation and change. Right. I'm the best version of myself when I embrace that reality.
Right.
Maybe even cultivate some of that or participate in that. That's already going on.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is what that idea is same for the church and same for Christianity. It's not that things are like, I think people maybe get concerned about the core of what Jesus meant to preach or wanted to preach is lost when there's a change or transformation.
Right.
Meanwhile, just look at our history.
Right.
Look at our history.
Right.
And look at America. Are you telling me that these people that came and brought these slaves and forced them into labor, they had a great understanding of the gospel in Jesus that didn't need some changing or some transformation?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I do.
So like, what are we basing some of this stuff on? Are we thinking about the foundation of our country, or you know what I mean? So yeah, I think some of the fears are a fear of losing something.
Yes.
Maybe it's my place.
Right.
Maybe it's my voice is not going to be as loud.
Exactly.
And I'm going to have to make some room for some other voices.
Right.
Well, you know?
Yeah, there's an identity crisis, I think. It's very much ingrained. I you know, as a white person, nobody set me down in my house and said, "Look, you're white.
Wow.
Here's what that means."
Yeah.
Right? And here's how we need to protect this.
That's right.
Nobody did that. It gets told to you as you live your life, as you see what's going on around you. And that's hard to break.
Yeah.
That's hard to break because people don't recognize it. We only recognize the extremes, you know. We recognize the torches marching down the street, you know, screaming, "Jews will not replace us." But we don't recognize the fact that your school system doesn't have a bus service for people to attend. And guess what that does? That disenfranchises black people.
Yep.
That happened here. There is a school system in this city that does not have buses to this day. And that's one of the reasons why. It doesn't get talked about as far as I know. I mean, it does some, but you know, it's an incredibly tangled ball that is really, really knotted up and hard to undo. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
And I think it starts with just one-on-one conversations.
I think so
right?
too.
And just making space and being okay with stumbling along the way. Maybe, like for example, if you think that you have some racist tendencies within you, maybe trying to bring yourself into some spaces where you're not the majority.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Yes.
And shutting up.
Yeah.
And maybe saying some stuff, right? And stumbling and I think about what I know about black people, especially my family and people like that, even my wife's family. We are inclusive. So brother, you came over here, even if like, as long as you're not trying to kill us, you know, I mean, you can say some stupid stuff, have some stupid questions, but we're going to leave some space for you. We're going to recognize, okay, you know, you're white, you know, you might not be around us that often. There's some stuff that you probably don't know.
Right.
And we're going to give you some grace.
Right.
This is my people.
Right.
People that look like me tend to be like that, like inclusive. So like if you want to become less prejudiced, you're able to do it.
Right. Yeah, you have the tools at your disposal. Yeah.
We have the climate to do that.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways, especially online, I think it's different. Online is different. Maybe the climate is a little different. I don't know. That's debatable too.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking to a person, I'm going to be way more open in person than I am online.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that there's something beautiful taking place.
I think so too. I've been very blessed in my life to have people who have given me the space to ask my ignorant questions, and to realize that I am ignorant. You know, the first step is to admit you have an issue, right? I mean, that's a 12-step program thing. The first step is to recognize you've got a problem.
That's right.
And once you do that and you take that first step, the rest aren't easy, but definitely that first one is the hardest. And so to be able to have people around you who can, you know, give you the space to be ignorant and to say things that might be hurtful, but to be gifted the grace to say those things and still be loved.
That's right.
That's the important thing. And so I love it. I understand, you know, I would never, ever, ever want you to be less black than you are when you're with me. Like, I want you to be black.
Yeah.
All of it. Whatever that is, because that's not a monolith. The black community is incredibly diverse in itself.
That's right.
Right? And blackness gets expressed in different ways by different people within that community. And I would never, like, I hate it when people just can't be themselves.
Me too. Me too.
And I would never want you to not be all of who you are, you know? And that's the truth with all of my friends. I don't want you to be any less of who you are. You know, if you're you, be you.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
That's right.
And I try to be that way. I hope I'm that way. You have to ask my kids if that's the truth. My wife, if that's the truth. Like, who am I outside the house that I'm not inside the house? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, right.
So,
man, and a humble question.
Well, if you're able to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
But, you know, I love that. I love that you're open to those conversations. I'm open to those conversations. I've got no desire to convert anybody, you know, that I'm not trying to get somebody to be more woke. I'm not trying to get somebody to be less woke. I don't care about being, you know, I just want you to love people.
Yes.
I mean, it really is that simple. Yeah. And no, I don't mean the kind of love that's like, yeah, well, you got to tell them all the bad stuff too. No, you don't.
That's manipulation.
No, you don't.
That's borderline abuse.
It is. It's like, if that's where you are, you don't believe the Spirit has power to move.
That's right. Come on.
So all you do is you love, you let the conversations happen, and the Spirit moves.
That's right.
And those changes happen, and you don't have to do it.
That's right.
You just have to have the space to love them.
Man, I heard something so good about love the other day. Like, it's not just an emotion that we feel. It is a force.
Yeah.
Like, God is not just loving. God is love.
Right.
So when you're experiencing love, you're experiencing God.
That's exactly right.
And if you're bringing that love to somebody, you are bringing God to somebody.
Right.
And in that alone can be transformative.
Right. Yeah. That's all you have to do. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no 5 steps to whatever. I don't remember how many there are. I forgot all that crap anyway.
Yep.
It really is that simple.
Yes.
It's not that hard.
I think the hard part is knowing what love is.
Yes.
And like being able to be grounded enough to say, what does it mean for me to love in this moment?
Right.
What does it look like for me to love in this moment? And
right.
Perhaps that would change. It would be contextual. But the basic charge is the same. The same charge that Jesus gave.
Right. Yeah.
Man. Well, I really admire you. So let me just ask this question. Like, you've come a long way. You've come a long way. You've grown a lot. So where do you see yourself going, and what are you excited about that's happening in your life right now?
Oh man.
And it can relate to what we just discussed or just other things.
That's a hard question to answer. If you had asked me 20 years ago where I think I would be in 20 years, this is not where I thought I would be. So I feel like any answer by default is going to be flawed because I don't have a clue what's coming.
Right.
I'm hopeful that I will be more. Y'all can walk by. It's okay. Yeah, don't worry. No, don't even worry about it.
Okay.
We'll edit you out.
Yeah, we'll take you out.
This is fun.
It is. That's the first person I walked by.
I was just going to say, I'm a little shocked. Ultimately, though, to answer the question, what I think is I hope that I'm more loving than I am now.
Yes.
I hope I'm more affirming than I am.
Love that.
I hope. I hope that's it. And then wherever I end up with, I'm a nurse, if that, ultimately leads to me doing what I want to do and being a nurse practitioner and working with kids and doing stuff, then cool. As long as I'm that person doing that thing, whatever that thing happens to be, I'll be in pretty good shape, I think. And so that sums it all up. I want to be more loving. I want to be more open and more affirming tomorrow than I am today.
Yeah, I love that.
And we'll see what happens.
Man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It was 20 years ago, you probably wouldn't have guessed it.
I'm going to tell you something. 20-year-old Shane is shocked at who 40-year-old Shane is.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta tell you, I think if I could have a conversation with that kid, he would think I was going straight to hell. Straight to hell with a first class ticket in the front row of the plane. And God bless him. He's got a lot of learning to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, though.
I think so.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
On the way here, I passed by, like, just this 15-minute drive. I probably passed like 100 churches, right?
Oh my God.
One of the signs I saw was "Come as you are."
Yeah.
One of my thoughts was, did they get this from Kurt Cobain?
Yeah.
Like, is this a? I don't. And I had multiple thoughts about that. "Come as you are."
Yeah.
And we often hear that.
Yeah.
First of all, like, is that? Did they get that? Is that a? You tell me, because I don't know. Is that a biblical origin, or did that literally come from Kurt Cobain saying "Come as you are"?
Yeah. So it probably. God, this is gonna sound bad. It probably does have biblical origin.
Okay.
They don't mean that.
Yeah.
That's very judgmental.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that back. I don't know them.
Yeah.
My guess is, if that were true, I'd be shocked. Because to come as you are, most of the time, there's an unspoken parenthetical. Come as you are, as long as you vote like this. Come as you are, as long as you are heterosexual. Come as you are, as long as you're white. Come as you are. And those parenthetical statements, the unspoken, say a lot about who you are.
That's right.
And that's a big clue about where you need to go to change. So I'm very skeptical. I'm very cynical. I know I am actually a very hopeful person. I believe things are headed in a really good direction.
I believe that too.
I don't think I'll get to see them, which makes me sad because I want to see them.
Yeah.
Right. But I also think I'm trying to word this well. Things are headed in a good direction. It's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of work. And I would love to be able to pass by a church and see that sign and think they mean that. Far too often, people have said, we are welcoming. We welcome you.
That's right.
And then you find out later, well, yeah, you're welcome, but only if you fall in line with these things.
That's right.
So, sorry, I just got distracted. They're playing a song that's being sung by the guy who sings for Green Day, and it's totally distracting me because I love Green Day.
Man, before this, they were playing Justin Bieber. So I was distracted by that. I remember that album. It would have been you.
That's so funny.
I was distracted. But
But I really don't like the cynical part of me. Although I guess cynicism is only bad if you don't let it do something.
Yeah, I would say that too.
I don't know if that makes sense.
There's something within you that recognizing that things are not as they are, but you also have a desire to go do something about making things as they should be.
Right.
Which is a beautiful thing, I think.
Right.
Man. Well, you're an Enneagram 9 too. I would love to know what grounds you as you're trying to wrestle through all the chaos that's happening, that the things that you see that are not as they should be. What grounds you?
This is maybe cliche and cheesy, but I mean every word of it. My family grounds me. No matter what. So it's so hard to have a friend at DF. She's doesn't come to DF anymore. She's around and you need to meet her. Okay. I'll try to hook y'all up.
Okay. That's good.
She came up to me one day and she goes, do you know what the Enneagram is? And I said, yeah, of course. And she goes, what number are you? I said, 9. She looks at me and she goes, how do you work with kids? She started laughing and I'm like, yeah, I get that. I hate confrontation, but I'm having these conversations.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
I post things on my social media that after I post, I'm like, oh,
you
no.
feel it in your stomach.
Oh, I feel it everywhere.
I feel the same way.
and that's okay. It is what it is.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I know no matter what anybody else thinks about me, I'm gonna go home to a wife that loves me and to kids who think I'm a good dad.
Wow.
And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The only people whose opinion I genuinely care about, and I'm not saying, I shouldn't say only, because there are other people that I greatly admire and I want to make them proud. But when it comes down to it, if the world were to burn to ash, those 3 people in my home are the ones I really care about. What do you think about me?
Wow.
What do you think about me? Am I loving? Do I treat you well? Am I kind to you? They are the ones that keep me grounded. So no matter what else happens, I can go home and my wife will tell me she loves me, and my kids will share their music with me, and we'll watch videos on YouTube, and we'll be together, and we'll geek out over things, and you know, that keeps me grounded. And then there are a handful of people outside of that place who I just really, really love and trust. And I want them to be proud of me. And that desire for them, that's classic for a 9 to be a people pleaser.
That's right.
So
I can attest to that.
But I don't want them to be, I trust them that they love me to the degree that they won't let me sacrifice who I am to make them proud.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely.
So their pride for me only grows as I become more of who I'm supposed to be. Those relationships are the ones I really want to hold on to. So
I love that you say relationships.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful. Especially your family relationships. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing.
What about you?
Well, my wife, for sure. I love her so much, and I love being with her and spending time with her. I love being outside. I love creating content, and conversations like these have grown to be something that grounds me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how much I needed community until I got community.
Right.
And I received community here. And when I say community, I keep saying this, a place where there's a give and take.
Right.
There's an expectation that you can give me something like I can give you something.
Yeah.
It's not just a one-way streak. Like, these relationships have been so grounding for me.
Yeah.
And maybe just love.
Yeah.
Maybe just love in general. Me doing something that I love, and me receiving love from people, me receiving love from my wife.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that really get me. But community, man, I've never felt so loved in this season of my life.
Good.
And I've never recognized how impactful that could be, you know, to be seen, to be heard.
That's cool.
Right. And it feels so good. It has ignited me creatively. I'm always doing something. I've always got something in my mind, right? Always, like, I've just never been so full.
Yeah.
Right. So it's been a beautiful thing.
Good. Good.
And I felt very grounded being here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And all of it started with me taking you to a restaurant and where they all called you sluts.
Yep.
Remember that?
The Slutty Vegan.
Slutty Vegan, baby. That place is awesome.
That was great.
Yeah.
I haven't been since, but we want to go. Yeah, we got a long list of places to eat. It keeps getting longer because y'all keep telling us stuff.
Well,
you and your daughter
keep making stuff.
Yeah.
This city's an amazing food city.
Beautiful.
It's just stupid. I can't believe I don't weigh 400 pounds. But yeah, it's a good spot.
That's right. Yeah. What a gift.
It's a good spot.
Well, Shane, I really appreciate this conversation. I appreciate our friendship.
Me too.
I feel like when I have conversations like these on the camera, it ignites something.
Yeah.
Like, there's something that happens in this recorded conversation for the world that I think affects our friendship, I think in a positive way. So
yeah,
I'm excited for that. And I'm excited for more times, more conversations here at the Biddy and Bowls shop.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciate who you are.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability and your desire for things to be as they should be. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's
So,
very
so
kind.
thank you again for this conversation.
Thank you.
And I pray God's blessings over you and your family.
Thank you.
And your future.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this 1 hour conversation between me and my friend Shane. I hope that some of these words blessed you and maybe even challenged you. This video is sponsored by me. This channel is a little too small to have official sponsorships, but if you want to support the free work that will continue to be on this channel as long as I'm employed, it will be free. Please feel free to check out my music. I have music streaming on all music platforms, and to access that music, you can just type in my name, Wesley Hargon, wherever you stream music, and play that music, share that music, listen to it, let me know what you think. That is a great and simple way for you to support the channel and the content that I'm trying to share on the internet. Thank you. Blessings to your day. I am not your token. I am not your token. A black man, well spoken. A pawn when you're voting. And yet you're gone when there's revolting. I find that repulsing. The only Lord you probably know is Tolkien. And Lord knows I wish that I was joking. It's what I've seen. Most of my life has been a meme. Still praying it can become Martin Luther's dream. Instead of nightmares, it's why I have night terrors. I speak up and they say that I am crazy. I shed up and they say that I am lazy. And yeah, we're free. But not as free as we can be. Yeah, we're free.